Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Black Law and Legalized. This is Afro Becky.
Becky.
I am also joined by
Dan. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, aka Dan on Drugs. You can keep up with me on social media at I am Dan on Drugs. Keep up with the show across all social media platforms at Black Law Podcast.
Oh, I guess it's my turn. Yes. And this is just Dan, and you can follow me on Twitter at I Tell Legal Lies.
Legal.
You know what? You just had to go there.
I did.
Lies.
Yes. So that's us, and today we are going to discuss predatory loans.
Predators.
And yeah, you are a predator. You're right.
But there's different types of predatory loans,
right?
Correct?
Some would say that these rapid refund or refund anticipation
These damn
loans,
H&R Block shits, yeah.
well, anybody that would do what is called a refund anticipation loan, which is, for those of you who are unfamiliar, it is a loan that is predicated on your income tax refund, should you actually get one. So there are banks out there, as well as other financial institutions, that will allow you to borrow their money in anticipation of receiving that money back when the IRS or some state Department of Revenue releases your refund.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Becky, let's start with you. What do you think about that? The whole process, therefore, of.
Okay, are you finished with your question?
That did not sound like a question to me.
What do you think about these
throwing payday
refund
and
payday
loans?
We'll get there. But what do you think about the refund anticipation loan?
Do you believe that they are predatory?
You going
in nature?
Yeah.
Why?
Okay.
Well, one thing is, I don't know anything about the interest rate on these loans.
Oh, they'll tell you what it is. Correct?
They have to.
Okay.
But me personally, I don't know what they are.
About 189%.
Okay.
Lies.
If that were true, then hell no. But
it's not far from it.
If it would depend actually on my financial situation. if I think that I would benefit from having this refund anticipation loan in my time of need or desperation or whatever situation that I might be in at the time.
Okay, wait. Let me tell you what I think about them. I think they're a crock of shit. In essence, you are loaning me, and as you, the banks, I guess, the financial institutions, you
right.
are loaning me my money, correct?
No, I am loaning you my money because you don't have any money.
Right, but
which is why I'm loaning you my money.
You're loaning me money that essentially I'm going to get.
No, there is no guarantee that you will get. See, and this is where. So,
well, I still haven't told you what I thought yet.
All right, tell me.
It's bullshit, because here's the thing. Basically, when you get a refund anticipation loan, let's face it, you are anticipating that you're going to get a tax refund, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to get this money before the IRS sends you this money. So you want like the rapid 2-3 days. You go in and file your taxes, you get this loan. If you structure your W-4 right throughout the year, is it fair to say that you wouldn't need a refund anticipation loan because you can actually accumulate that same amount of money, maybe minus EIC, throughout the entire year?
Maybe.
So basically, they're completely unnecessary and they cost a lot of money. Like I file my taxes every year at H&R Block. Terrible place, let me tell you. Let me tell you, people. Terrible place. But I got the hook up there. I know somebody that works there, and they do schedule C's for free. they be hooking me up, yo.
Man,
Legal lies.
Lies and garbage.
Come on, bro.
That's a certified
Come on, bro.
legal
Lies.
No,
lie.
but I do know somebody that works at H&R Block, and a lot of the stories I hear from this particular person, who I have no reason to distrust, says that their clients are usually low income people who don't have bank accounts, which is why they get their money on these cards, or they get these checks and go to check cashing places that, and we spoke about that, where they charge like 10% of $8,000. So you're paying $800 to cash your check. Whereas if you file your taxes yourself, you're not paying anybody. Sure, you might not have the know-how if you have a complicated tax return, such as mine, but do it yourself. You get your money, you pay nobody nothing. And
but as you said, most people don't have that knowledge. Number one.
Right.
Number two, honestly, about 92% of people of color are unbanked or underbanked. There's a
describe underbanked.
So you have a bank account, checking account, but you don't have a lot of money in it.
Okay.
You know, you have a bank account.
So you're poor basically with a bank account.
Right. You have a bank account, but the reason why you have a bank account is because somebody down the line told you to open up a bank account, and you did, or you got it because your job said that the only way you can get your paycheck is via direct deposit. So
but
you
look,
open up.
That's when it came out. All right, so real quick. I used to work for a Domino's Pizza. I moved down here, worked for Domino's Pizza down here. Back home, they cut paper checks. Down here, it was direct deposit only. At the time, I did not have, I had a bank account, but I overdrew it, and I had owed them some money. So that's when I first saw these little cards. Now, this was before like the Rush cards and the popular
Netspin, and
we had
Green Dot.
Yeah,
Green
right.
Dot.
But we had cards that were specific to Domino's.
And they put it
They
on
put
the
them
card.
on a card, and yes, there was a fee
Yep.
for that. So Domino's was basically paying me and then taking some of that money back.
Well, the people that the cards, because most of those cards, believe it or not, are run through this financial institution called MetaBank.
MetaBank, I've heard of them.
And MetaBank, what they do, they don't charge you to put money on the card, but they do charge you to take money off the card.
And they used to do a maintenance fee until
That's
that
correct.
was illegal. I think Obama might have.
They made with this whole new, what is it, CFB something, this whole consumer financial law, when they changed, and they targeted things like refund anticipation loans and payday loans and things like that, because they looked at them as predatory lending. The thing is, if you are an Elizabeth Warren, or you are a Bernie Sanders, and you're at the stage in your life where you're a multimillionaire
and you're old as fuck, okay,
but you don't know what it feels like not to be able to pay a bill,
Or you forgot.
I think Bernie would know.
Maybe, but not to be able to go and buy food, literally living paycheck to paycheck. You don't make enough to be on public assistance. Well,
You make
too much to be on public assistance, but you don't make enough for your check to stretch. So what happens is, I can't get a conventional loan because my credit score sucks. And so what I do is I will go to these payday lending places.
Okay, payday loans.
Right. And take out a loan. And with those things, you literally have to give them Some of them
Collateral.
they will accept like a predated check, right? Some of them you actually have to have a bank account because they will draft that money out of your bank account on the designated day. For the ones that don't, you give them like an interest in something, because honestly, I've never had to take out a payday loan. But
wait, you just mentioned interest. Okay, I got this site up right here, and it is bank rate. The average interest rate on a payday loan is 391%.
Mm-hmm. That's right, because it's 14 days. So you think about the turnaround time.
Right, it's not a lot of money over 14 days, right, but it is.
I give you this money and you have to pay me back within 14 days. So annualized 391%. Now there is some states that ban payday loans, like Georgia,
North Carolina.
They ban payday lending because it is considered predatory. But as I said, if I can't get money from a conventional arena, I can't go to a bank or I can't go to my credit union and ask them for a loan. The only other thing I have is either I can come to you as my family and you can, float me a few dollars until I get paid.
That ain't happening.
No, wait. And that's actually, Ann brings up a good point. And also Becky brings up a good point, is if I know your financial situation and you're coming to me asking me for money, knowing that I know your financial situation, I would hesitate to give it to you, because I'm like sitting back and I've watched you. We're talking close family. Mm-hmm. I've watched how you spent money over the years. I watch what you do with your money when you get it. Mm-hmm. And I kind of have an idea why you don't have any money. So I would be hesitant to loan family money.
Now, honestly, I was my family's bank for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Until one day I snapped and I was like, you know what? They take their money,
the bank,
and they do whatever they want with it. I would see family members on like Facebook partying, mm-hmm. right? And this was after you came and you gave me a sob story and I gave you some money. But then I would see you done went out of town. Yep. You partying and you sending back pictures of you just parlaying in the cut. And I'm like, wait a minute. So it got to a point that I was like, you know what?
Man,
I'm not the one no more.
My grandfather used to be not only our family, but friends' banks. He charged interest. Mm-hmm. And the one thing about my grandfather is you were going to pay him. And that's the one thing, like, he was an old school hustler. Like,
he was a loan short. So that's
this
pretty much.
Yeah, same grandfather that won like acres of land in a poker game in North Carolina, then had to move and change his name for reasons unknown.
Yeah, but, I say, your grandfather was a loan shark. I can understand
basically, that. Yeah.
And he was breaking kneecaps if they wasn't giving him his money.
So that takes me to, though, what? Okay, I can't get a payday loan because I live in a state that bans them. Mm-hmm. My credit score is 300. Mm-hmm. I don't have a job. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I'm on fixed income. Like we know of a situation similar to this, fixed income.
Right.
I don't have any money. Right. I can't get a conventional loan. I can't get a payday loan. Family won't loan me money. Where can I get money?
So then we're talking.
Oh, and I can't work because, again, I'm on a fixed income.
We're talking pawn shops.
Okay.
You start pawning stuff, and that within itself is a racket.
Yeah, you lose a lot of money.
You lose an extreme amount of money. But if you are desperate now, even though in your state it is illegal to have payday lending, I know of some websites, payday lendings online. Mm-hmm. And even though you are not, that your state outlaws it, you can definitely try online payday lending. But it's been brought to my attention that they may not even touch you because you may not be able to enforce it in that state because it is illegal in that state.
Right.
So, I mean, and that is why even though refund anticipation loans, they are considered predatory as well, some people actually need them. And yes, they could wait for the money, but
or they could change their withholdings.
Right. And I try to counsel people, and I tell people that all the time. Honestly, if you make over a certain amount of money and you're getting a massive refund, you're doing something wrong as far as your W-4 is concerned. Because I myself would rather use my money myself over the course of the year.
Well, we'll throw a dollar amount out here. Where we
at? say you make
35.
Like I was about to say $35-ish thousand.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a large, and you have like 3 kids, you have a large refund, say $5,000-$6,000, your W-4 is not correct, because at $35,000 with 2 kids, you're gonna get with 3 kids, you're gonna get child tax credit,
EIC.
a little additional child tax credit. EIC is negligible. You're not gonna get a big pop. So the only other place that the majority of that money is gonna come from is you getting withholdings back. Mm-hmm. And if that you are getting a lot of that back, you need to redo your W-4, because basically you just gave the IRS an interest-free loan, because what they did was use that money to gain interest.
Right.
And then they gave it back to you.
I can tell you with my tax returns every single year since I've worked, my tax refunds are usually around $100 to $300.
I don't get refunds.
I mean, if in a perfect world, that I'd probably be at right around 0. And that's what I try to do, actually. I try to get it as close to 0 as possible. But right. you just, there's certain variables like bonuses and things like that you can't account for. But what made me do that is one of my first years, I didn't realize Louisiana, because I'm from the DC area, I didn't realize Louisiana had one of the highest state
income tax rate.
Mm-hmm. So I went with whatever I went with in DC, and I ended up owing the state like $200. And I'm like, back then $200 was a lot of money to me. So I'm like, shit, I got to fix this. So ever since then, I sat down, figured it out. Not only do I claim have 0 exemptions on my W-4, I also tell them to take an additional $10 per paycheck to go towards the government.
FYI, I don't. I honestly prefer to owe the government.
Really? I don't like to owe people money.
I really do.
We've had this discussion before. I don't like to borrow. I don't like to owe.
But I prefer to owe them, not like a massive amount of money. The one time that I did get in recent memory,
I remember $50. We were balling,
and I blew it all on alcohol. People, we were
balling.
You claim not to be an alcoholic.
I blew that $50 on drinks at the bar on a Friday night. Man, it was like, it was a windfall. $50.
I remember that. So, she was excited, ladies and gentlemen. Rolled her chair back. I'm getting a refund. It's like, oh, for real? How much? $50. Sit your ass
Man,
down.
Look, I was all kind of geeked out. I mean, because you talk about years and years and years of paying these people. Like I said, not a massive amount of money, like $200, $300. Mm-hmm. So it's like, but
so why do you prefer to owe them?
Because I don't like giving the government my money.
Well, you're essentially giving it to them.
Well, here's the thing. I have given them barely enough. I too try to get to that 0, the wash. I don't owe them. They don't owe me. But sometimes I make calculation errors. So if it's like $100 or $200 that I give them, okay, y'all got me. Here it is, and keep rolling. But
so is that what, because I know that you have worked with people in the financial industry, as have I, in a different capacity at least. But Is that what you would recommend for the
I don't-
everyday Joe?
I don't advocate the everyday person owing the government anything. And the reason why I say that is because of the mentality. Because you look at people literally, what I find, they
Free money.
1,000% believe that this is money that's owed to them.
Mhm.
You know, so they say, I work hard for this money. The government owes me this money. That's the mentality. So
But it's your money all along.
when it is not, actually, it's not even their money. It is taxpayers' dollars, especially people
Wait,
who
so
get
we're
earned
not
income
talking
credit.
about your withholding. Okay.
No,
okay,
we're not
okay,
talking about withholding.
Okay.
We're talking about the extra. We're talking about the EIC, the earned income credit, the child tax credit, or other credits that you would be eligible for. That's free money. Literally. It's money that the reason you have
Yeah,
it is
it
because
is.
you have kids.
Let me ask you this in all seriousness. I've debated this a few times online, but then I've backed out of the debates because I don't like to really debate with people I don't know. Well, what are your thoughts on the EIC? Should we get rid of EIC?
No.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why. And here is why. That free money windfall, people, like I said, it all goes back to mentality.
And it all goes back into the economy almost instantly.
Exactly right. That is 100% right. Because we've literally seen people get $8,000 refunds, and by the next week, they're calling trying to find out where their state refunds are.
I'm
because
broke.
those $8,000 refunds are gone before they get them.
And for those of you that I'll big up New Orleans again, who are unfamiliar with Mardi Gras and tax time come hand in hand. People will spend thousands on Mardi Gras outfits,
we need outfits,
and
we need
throws,
our whole setup,
everything.
And we need to get our food and everything else together. That used to be a big thing. Like, I needed to get my refund before Mardi Gras. It is still a big thing.
Yeah.
I need to get my money, which is going back to refund anticipation loans. So, you know,
people.
Tax laws changed. The government now, it used to be you filed your taxes 10 to 14 days later, you had your refund.
Mm-hmm.
I used to look at people and be like, man, y'all stupid. Because sometimes they would get refund anticipation loans 1 week, the very next week, their refund was coming.
It takes me, honestly, every year, within 7 days, I have my refund.
Right. But that's
sometimes even shorter.
That's because you don't have earned income credit on your tax return. Because nowadays.
No, some years I did.
Well, yeah. Well, I can see that was before 2 years ago. 2 years. Yep. Before 2 tax seasons.
Man, don't tell them when I started making 8 figures, man. Don't tell them when I started making 8 figures.
Because as of 2 years ago, tax law change, anybody with earned income credit or child tax credit or certain other credits.
Schedule A too, huh?
Your refund, nah.
What was the thing with the Schedule A?
They weren't processing.
Okay.
They weren't processing until a certain point.
Ladies and gentlemen, Schedule A is itemization pretty much.
Right. So some of the extenders, well, I know y'all don't particularly know what extenders were. That particular year, some of the extenders had not been
updated.
Well, they had not passed them yet, but they were in the process. So they needed to update the whole Schedule A form. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't process them until that went into effect. But anyway, so tax law changed. You cannot, if you have those certain things like EIC or additional child tax credit, and other credits on your tax return, you cannot get your refund prior to February 15th. The IRS will not even start processing your tax return until February 15th, which means that your refund is not coming until the end of February.
And that is because they're scrutinizing these particular returns?
They are waiting for income verification.
Mm-hmm.
They're waiting for something new that the IRS finally learned how to do. They learned how to communicate.
Mm.
Can we say communication kids? They learned how to communicate with other government agencies. Because believe it or not,
Ooh.
they don't talk.
Let me tell y'all a story real quick.
They don't talk.
Okay, I'm going to tell y'all a quick story. Now, for those of you who, and you got a 50-50 chance right now. If you want to go to your local H&R Block and file for one of these refund anticipation loans, and you owe a shitload of student loans that you have not been paying on, go to your H&R Block, get your refund anticipation loan. H&R Block ain't gonna get paid, but you sure will. 50-50 chance. So this is just for all you people out here who owe student loans. Go to H&R Block.
Stupid.
Or Jackson Hewitt, or what other place, Liberty Tax, all those places. If you go there before the IRS is officially open and you know you owe student loans, go in there and get your refund anticipation loan, because at the end of the day, you're going to walk out with a check, whatever their max is, depending on, and they ain't never going to get paid. And you got your money.
So
pay your student loans with that money.
Nah, you won't. But which leads us to the advent of refund anticipation loans and why they're important now. Because as I said, people were used to 7, 10, 14-day turnaround times for their tax refunds. Now, the government's holding those tax returns until the end of February. So you have people who have filed taxes in January and who are ready, and you have to wait, 6 to 8 weeks to get a tax refund. So they're all over these refund anticipation loans. But
didn't at one point too the government try to get rid of refund anticipation loans?
They did. What the government did was, in order to help with underwriting these loans, which is basically risk management, they decide whether or not what the likelihood of the government actually sending you your refund and the loan being repaid was. That's what underwriting basically is. What the government was doing was, if you had a debt, you mentioned student loans, if you had any sort of governmental debt, they would send to the bank what's called a debt indicator. So
child support.
It would tell you if this person owed the federal government or state government or both. Well, the IRS said, you know what? We don't want y'all doing this. So they took that aspect away. They would no longer send banks debt indicators. And what that did was that basically put a freeze, because now I don't know whether or not you owe money.
Right.
So the likelihood of me actually getting repaid from your refund, I don't know what that is.
Thinking out loud real quick. If you have 20 years worth of data on just say one taxpayer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You probably know what the likeliness, regardless of a debt indicator.
Of course. If you have 20 years worth of data.
Right. Things could change, but
in a blink of an eye.
Right. That at least gives you a look into, okay, this might be a good loan.
Right. Which is what banks did. They basically started what I know some banks did. They started buying information from other sources to see if this person had any sort of judgments or debts or whatever. And they put it all in this
and they do credit checks.
Computer. They don't do credit checks like that. They put it in a computer system, and this algorithm spits out a yay or nay. It's all computer driven now. And so it spits out what's the likelihood of us getting our money back. And if it's a high percentage, and they do it by percentages, high percentages, there you go, you get a loan. If it's a low percentage, and believe it or not, you mentioned payday loans at 390 whatever percent. The refund anticipation loans that I've seen lately, the APR on them are like 39.2%.
Isn't there a legal max? So I was like 36% or some shit.
Well, it all depends on if you're military or not. It used to be that members of the military could not get refund anticipation loans
Yo,
because
you look like you tweaking on camera, son.
I itch right there because the APRs were too high. But for the loans, and we're talking about loans up to $6,000, 39% is not bad considering that.
What is that? Like, okay, that's actually because a lot of people don't know how, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm one of them. Don't know how APRs, APY, like there's a difference between an APR and an APY.
All right.
What I know is, let's take one of my credit cards, my personal credit card. My interest rate is about 10%.
Okay.
I don't know what the fuck that means. And I always pay my credit cards off like shortly after spending, so I hardly ever pay interest. And I recommend people do that. Shop with a credit card, and because they have layers of protections. And in a previous episode, we talked about car insurance and what was it? Warranty extensions and also cash back. But shop with a credit card, but pay the shit off before the end of the month. That's what I do. So
before your next cycle.
Right. So interest
and
rates,
that's something else, cutting you off. Yes, I know it stops you, but know when your bills actually cycle to the next month.
They let you choose that now too.
Yeah, they do, but most people don't know what it is. And if you pay it before that next cycle,
no interest.
Right.
So, okay, with my 10% interest, am I paying 10% per month
You're
on
paying
my
10%
balance?
daily because it's compounded. You are paying interest on interest because whatever your daily balance is, you're charged. Then you're paying interest on interest. It's like you're paying a little bit of interest every day.
Right, I get that. So,
and then
with my 10%, I'm not paying 10% per day because if I had $100, I'd be paying $10 a day.
No, you're not paying 10% per day. The 10% is the annual rate that you're paying.
Okay, so
it's like it's something like whatever your balance is times 360 divided by whatever gives you, there's a formula to this madness. So it's a daily rate that you pay that basically adds up to 10% annually. But when you allow balances,
let me explain this because I know exactly where you're going. So if you charge $200 for Christmas, okay, January comes around and you pay the minimum, $20. You are going to start accumulating interest. So the next month, February, you pay the bare minimum, another $20. You're still accumulating interest. Next month, same thing, bare minimum, another $20. So far you've paid $60 on $200.
But you are paying interest on top
on the interest that has accrued over that time. Now that's something I did learn, and I said, "Damn, that's a scam." Do you want to know where I learned that?
Where?
Buying a fucking house. Up until then, I did not know because again, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna sit here and try to act like I know something that I don't.
Right,
I don't know how
you were financially literate
in that aspect.
Point.
Yes.
Right. No, but so what the moral of the story is: payday loans and refund anticipation loans are predatory loans, but
they have their places.
They do have their places and they do have their purpose. Now, what I hate to see is people who, and I know somebody who did this in Louisiana, actually used to allow this. I don't know if they do anymore. They would get a payday loan from this place. They would roll and get a payday loan. They would have like 3 outstanding payday loans.
So would they like rob Peter to pay Paul in that situation?
Pretty much. In the end, then they would default on 1 or 2 of them. Try to pay this one, then get some money from this one to try to pay this one. It's the craziest. It's like a pyramid scheme. Craziest thing ever. But one thing, there's a couple of states, there are a couple of states that will limit, which is a good thing to me, because if payday loans are stopgaps, they really are. That is, I need money fast. I can't get it conventionally. Let me go here. So there are some states that will limit the amount of payday loans you can make in a year. Like, just like savings account withdrawals.
Yeah, you can only do what, 6 per month?
6 in a month, and then you start paying. Well, you can only, I think, can't remember what state it is. They limit you to 8 in a year. After 8, you cannot get any more. And that is regulated. And all these payday lenders have a system that they input your information into.
Kind of like with prescription drugs. Ask me how I know.
Exactly right.
So what we see too a lot in our community is bruh man, right? Bruh man, he done got his 8 payday loans. Now he goes finds some woman with low self-esteem, maybe who's looking for a little attention, because I know somebody like this.
Oh Lord, don't tell me you're talking about the scam.
The
tax time scam.
Basically. So treat her nice. She might be undesirable, whatever the case may be. Pay her some attention. Then you ask her, can you go get a payday loan for me? I'll pay it back, but look, my situation is blah. So boom, she gets you one. Then, hey, look, can you give me another payday loan? You get 8 from her, and then tell her to kick rocks. You go find another one.
And go get 8 from them.
8 from them. Now,
yes.
You know people like this, maybe not necessarily with payday loans, but we all know that one person who finds a way to find a way. So I'll just say this. I think payday loans are a necessary evil. I grew up with them, not necessarily using them, but I grew up with all of the payday loan spots, the check cashing spots and all that in my neighborhood. And in a prior episode, we talked about how I was baffled that I would get birthday checks from aunts and uncles. They send it in the mail, and I take it down to the check cashing spot and pay $6 to cash a $20 check. And when I got older, I was just like, what the fuck was I doing? But that's all we knew. So definitely financial literacy is a big thing. If you have to get a payday loan, I'd have to go with you probably mismanaged some money along the way. Same with the tax refund, tax anticipation loan. You at some point probably mismanaged some money.
No, I don't think that's necessarily the situation. Maybe somebody got sick, and who happens to be the breadwinner of your household.
Okay.
And
wait, hold on. You sick?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I agree. I agree with Becky. In our communities.
Wait, hold on. I just want to say I didn't speak in absolute. I said probably, but go ahead.
Well, right. And so, as I said, I agree with Becky. In our communities, I said we're either unbanked or underbanked. We don't have savings. Not a lot of us. And we don't have enough money that we can put money. Even though, I tell people start out small, save $10 a paycheck. But some people can't afford to even save $10 a paycheck because they are
lying about that.
They are literally living paycheck to paycheck.
And people don't understand. Now, I personally have lived paycheck to paycheck.
I was
My
about to
mama
say,
has.
So have I.
But people don't understand. People who have never done it don't understand. Living paycheck to paycheck does not mean you have enough money to get you to your next paycheck.
That's right.
No, it means that you have enough money to maybe pay this bill, the important bills, push the others to the side
until you get your next
paycheck.
And then
you're always behind the 8 ball because
you're paying shuffle because guess what? What's about to get cut off?
Exactly.
Let me pay that and then I'm gonna do whatever. And like I said, I know what that feels like I lived in a household, as I'm saying all the time, with 2 parents. Problem is, only one of them worked. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a laborer, and he wasn't making like $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year.
Bullshit.
Shut up.
Bullshit.
Because see, once again, you have this skewed
this is
vision.
not skewed because I know what your father does.
You have this skewed vision.
I know what he does.
But you know what my father did, but do you know what it took for my father to get there?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of hard work.
My father did not start out like that.
I'm sure it took a lot of hard work.
So as realize that my parents were married when I was born when my dad was 20. Okay.
Damn, he old now.
So I was born when my dad was 20. And what 20-year-old that doesn't come from family wealth starts out wealthy?
I know a couple, not wealthy, but let me ask you this too, because we're about to have to wrap up. How old were you when you first got money? And when I say you first got money, I don't mean you're wealthy, you're rich, but when money was not a primary concern.
Like when I realized that if I didn't get paid the next paycheck, I'd be good.
Not even that. If you didn't get paid for the next 2 or 3 months, you'll still be good.
I still be good?
Yeah.
How old was I when that happened? Gotta think because for a minute I was a perpetual student. So I was in school for a very large portion of my life. Let me see.
Pocketing them Pell Grants.
Man, Pell shit. My daddy made too much money for me to get Pell Grants.
Oh, wait, first he ain't make no money. Now.
Yes, but by the time I got to college, my daddy made too much money for me to get Pell Grants. So no. Let me think. So 35.
35. Okay.
So 30
in your 30s.
30s, in my 30s.
Okay. For me, I reached that point in my late 20s, and that was because I had a lot of help along the way. But I also, going back to that Kevin Hart documentary and talking about he grew up poor, dirt poor, they shared a house with 3 other families type of shit. I know what it's like, and I promised myself I would never go back. And I'm talking about, I'm making like at the time $10, $12 an hour maybe. I don't care. I'm never going back. So I was stashing money left and right. Like you said, $10 if that's all I could do. But that shit adds up because, ladies and gentlemen, when I finally started contributing to my IRA, I was doing $30 a month maybe. Or maybe $30 a check, one or the other. I looked up maybe 5 years down the line, and there was like 10 grand just sitting there. Mm-hmm. And that's off of, let's split hairs and say $50 a month.
But see, like
and
I
said, company matches.
But that's if you have it. But we're talking about, people that don't even have $10 to put away in a cookie jar.
Right. No, but I'm
but talking about
stay
yourself.
out my mouth.
No. Talking about yourself.
Yeah, I'm talking about myself. So late 20s, I got to a point where if I lost my job and I had to go job hunting for a couple of months, I would have been okay. Becky, how old were you when you had enough money saved to where if you lose your job, you're okay for a couple of months?
I would say early 30s.
All right. See,
early 30s.
That's me.
So late 20s, early 30s.
But I'm with you. And the reason why I did that, because like I said, by the time I hit college, my parents were comfortable. But prior to that, I saw them living.
Becky parents rich.
I saw them living paycheck to paycheck. I saw what it was when, my mom, she made our clothes. I didn't start buying, I didn't have Nikes. I didn't have, back then,
Jordache,
Treat Torn and
Treat Torn coming back.
Treat Torn and all that other stuff. I didn't have any of that. My tennis shoes came from Walmart, or, we were going to the thrift store, and that's where if I was actually buying clothes, some of it came from the thrift store. My parents would go to my mother would go to Sears and JCPenney's when we could, but it wasn't like I was hanging out going, shopping in the mall and all this other stuff.
Mm.
Teenage girls was doing that, and I was like,
You know where I got my clothes?
I ain't got it.
Thrift store.
See, that's what I'm saying. We
Straight up.
went to
Becky,
the thrift store too.
Have you ever witnessed your parents struggle financially?
No, I have never witnessed it because I think they hid it from me. I don't think that they shared that with me.
Let me tell
know.
you, your parents really don't share, but
you
see, right? Because it wasn't like my daddy or my mom would come and say, we can't get you X, Y, and Z, but you would look in the refrigerator and see what was in there. You know what I'm saying? You would look in the cabinet and see what was in there. And then when you heard other people talk about what they had in their house and see what they were wearing, and then you looked at yourself and you was like, I don't hear nobody else talking about they was down at the red, white, and blue.
Well, I mean, in comparison to you, my mom did make my clothes at some point when I was really young.
I think she did it because she wanted to.
Yeah, I think it was more so because, and also, I was really little. So having to
shop
and then, yeah.
I think we all were really little when we were kids.
Shut up,
I was
girl.
littler.
I know what she's saying.
But I never really had any of the name brand, stuff.
Man, I remember. So when Becky came down here, right? This was before online shopping was like blew up. I remember, man, I was like, we gotta do something about this wardrobe, bruh. And you remember the baby fat baby fat boots?
Baby fat?
Yeah, they look like Coach. They had the emblem or whatever.
And the jeans.
Yeah, and the jeans. And she gonna argue me down, right? One thing I know is a woman's body. That is one thing that I do know. Like I could tell your breast size just by looking from about 400 feet away. So she was trying to get a size 4. I said, you a size 2. No, I'm not. I ain't no size 2. I'm a size 4. Nah, you're size 2. I mean, no, you remember that day?
Yeah.
I ain't no size. Just try them on. Goes back, tries them on. Ooh, these make my booty look good. That's because you're wearing the right size. No, but I don't even know why I told that story. But what I was gonna say, I was just being dumb. But what I was gonna say is the reason why I asked if you've ever seen your parents struggle financially is there's certain tendencies that we have, and I'm sure you see certain tendencies with me where, for instance, we're looking for new furniture. We've been looking for new furniture for over a year now. Our furniture is literally falling apart.
But
it's
you
crumbling.
You don't want to spend the money.
I don't want to spend the money. So she found a nice couch at Costco, reasonably priced. Love seat, So she put it in the cart at Costco to have it delivered. After tax, it came up to $2,500. Now, that's reasonable for a living room set, but paying no damn $25. But that's me and my anxiety of being broke again and not having money. So I have to
insecurity.
Right. I have to spend the bare minimum. And I know that irritates the fuck out of Becky sometimes because she'll say, hey, I'm like, too expensive. Does that irritate you?
In this situation, yes, it did, because I was ready to go get it yesterday.
Right.
See?
I can understand that.
And
but for me,
she's never experienced what we're talking about, living paycheck to paycheck and being poor. So that anxiety, we know, you and I both know this man who is a multi-millionaire. We talk about him every so often. Mm-hmm. He has financial insecurity. As well. He is very cheap, and he actually calls me his brother.
He says that?
Yes.
Oh,
because he is extremely frugal as well. This man will literally, he doesn't buy clothes. And then when
People
he does,
give him clothes.
Right. Because they're tired of watching him wear the same thing over and over again. Because he will wear it until it falls off. Mm-hmm. Literally, he caught a pair of jeans on a nail and there's a hole in it. And he was like, it's a good thing is the holy jean trend is back, huh?
That dude, and it was like me. I got 3 pair of sweatpants. That's it. Now, I have, let me say 3 colors, 3 different types of sweatpants, but they're all the same 3 colors: gray, dark gray, and black.
Mhm.
And I have Old Navy, gray, dark gray, black, Puma, gray, dark gray, black, Puma, gray, dark gray, and black.
Puma
But
from Costco.
yeah, they're from Costco. Whatever Costco has, I'll get. So I have 9 pair of sweatpants, but you can't tell the difference because
They're all the
they all
same
look the
color,
same.
basically.
Yeah.
Same style.
And I don't give a fuck because fuck it,
Right.
man. I'd rather spend my money when I need it. And one
or
day,
have it when you need it. And that's 100%. But like I said, and you said it, expressed it, and I will reiterate. Payday loans, yes, they are predatory. Refund anticipation loans, yes, they are predatory, but they serve a purpose.
what else is predatory? Is there anything else that falls? I guess there's
Shit,
like
there used to be
Credit card interest rates.
Yeah.
That's predatory.
as
Auto
well as
financing?
housing, mortgage.
Oh yeah, especially, when we talk about when the real estate bubble burst
Mhm.
and all these subprime loans,
Mhm.
which largely affected people of color.
Oh, we
'Cause-
got some white folks in there too, though.
But
That's why the Tea Party existed.
I
'Cause
guess
the white
so,
people.
huh? Right. But but that's who were actually receiving these subprime loans, though.
Yeah,
What
I know.
were
I
people
know
of color?
a stripper, right? So
You know a stripper?
no, I don't. I know of a stripper who worked in Miami. She was a stripper. That's all. Her only skill was a stripper. So she would have
Exotic dancer.
Thank you. She worked at a popular strip club where wealthier individuals would come in.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
And niggas will talk and talk and talk when they got pussy in their face. They will tell you all kinds of shit.
Mm-hmm.
This realtor got her set up in like 6 different houses in Miami. 6 different houses. Condos.
And the Miami housing market is
It's
horrible.
expensive as fuck.
Hell yeah.
6 of them. No money down.
Oh.
Got her set up. So in her mind, she balling now.
Mhm.
And then I think she like rented a couple of them and this, that. But once the shit came crashing down and she couldn't pay the notes, and her notes went from $600 a month to $1,200 a month to
All of them in
$1,800 a month.
foreclosure.
All of them went into foreclosure. Fucked her credit up. She homeless, and now she too old to strip because
And that's our only skill.
right.
Yeah,
that was
that's great.
it.
Like I said, we in communities of color, we fall prey to predatory lending. But the reason why we fall prey to things like this is because we are financially literate,
For the most part.
right? And there's a lot of financial insecurity in our communities. So we fall prey to these. We literally step into these things because that's what we've known. That's the way that we know to survive. But they do have their places.
Let me piggyback real quick off of that. So, talking about communities of color being financially illiterate, there's some other things that we are too. And it pains me to see this one. Fashion. When you see somebody, and we talked about this before, see somebody who makes like $12,000, $13,000 a year, spend $3,000 on a purse or whatever. But you look at fashion is like one of the biggest ripoffs. And you look at your favorite celebrity, your Kardashians and all them, and the shit that they're wearing, and you're like, okay, I want to buy that. Chanel, I want to buy that. What? They're not paying for these clothes. They don't have to.
They are given those clothes
Right.
so that you run out and buy them.
But why is it that you largely don't see that in white communities to where fashion, they don't care? But our communities who are financially disparaged, we care more about what we look like than.
Well, I think it's a control mechanism. That's what, I think about that every now and then. And that's the conclusion that I've come to. It's like, this is what we can control. That whole fake it till you make it.
Right.
I need you to see that I'm balling out of control. So and this is the way that I can control what your perception of me is. And so I am going to dress a certain way so you perceive me a certain way. And I am going to use the means that I have in order to get these things so you can perceive me in that certain way, which is crazy, but it's what we do.
It's a damn shame. So there you have it, people. Again, payday loans predatory. These tax
refund anticipation loans
predatory. Mortgages predatory.
They all have their places, though, in the scheme of things. If you keep them under control, is when we
misuse
get
and
out
abuse.
of control, right, and misuse these things. I mean, because honestly, anything that we just let control us is not necessarily good for us.
And fuck what the next man think as far as what you look like, what
Exactly.
you're wearing. My name is Dan. Keep up with me on Twitter and IG at I am Dan on Drugs. The show, all platforms, Black Law Podcast. And also, if you're really concerned about fashion, cop one of these t-shirts out of our shop, blacklawpodcast.com/shop.
Hi, and I'm Just Dan, and thank you for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at I Tell Legal Lies.
And deep from the heart of Afro Becky, I want to thank you for joining us for this infotaining episode of Black Law Legal Lies. Y'all have a great week.
Yes. Thanks.